Hello there and welcome to another edition of Robot Wars Unveiled. This time we're going to have a look at Series 3 Heat P. I hope you enjoy. S.M.I.D.S.Y lost in the first round of the main competition for the only time in its history, whereas Dreadnought made it to the Heat final stages for the only time in its history. Dreadnought was erroneously spelled as Dreadnought with a G and a H on the statistics board for this episode. In the opening titles recap, the clips from Heat M and N were switched round. Scarab is the first robot to wield a horizontal crusher. A clip of Craig Charles saying "let's charge back into the walls" was a shortened version of it used from Heat L, presumably as the pinball had finished in this heat. This was the penultimate episode not to feature Heat finalists from the previous series in the lineup. The last episode not to feature a previous Heat finalist would be Heat H of Series 7. A clip of the Heat final was used in 2016 BBC Breakfast feature about the return of the series. Trun Trun was originally armed with a snowplow, but this had to be removed due to weight restrictions, with the team opting to retain the aesthetic parts of the robot rather than the weapons. Despite this, Trun Trun remained overweight, but the novelty of the robot combined with the unlikeliness that the extra would help it in battle allowed Trun Trun to enter regardless. During Trun Trun's appearance, its name was often mispronounced. In fact, I'd probably mispronounced it myself. Notable examples include Turn Turun and Twin Turun. Both Trun Trun and its successor, the Creature, would lose upon the first impact. The team behind Trun Trun and its successor competed in Technogames with War King. Jonathan Pierce claims Psychokiller took 2 months to build, but the robot statistic board said it took 3 months to build. A shot of Psychokiller vs Dreadnought was used in the Robot Wars program during the filming of the 6th Wars. In Series 3, Mick Reed was referred to as Mike Reed. However, he was referred to by his correct name in all the other series he was a part of the S.M.I.D.S.Y team. At the Series 3 audition, S.M.I.D.S.Y performed the driving test but drove into a wall and broke internally, causing it to stop moving, but it still qualified regardless. On Trident's statistic board, Neil Ward was referred to as Peter Ward. After Series 3, Victor remained in possession of its team for a while before it was disassembled around the time of Series 5. The team would later appear with the Kraken. Victor appeared in both the first heat of Series 2, Heat A, and the last heat of Series 3, Heat P. In the auditions for Series 3, Ratus suffered from some interference issues during the driving test, causing it to fail the driving test, and the fur was found to not conform to health and safety standards, and thus it was removed. Ratus is one of 2 competitors to have its fur removed prior to competition. The other was Nuts in Series 8. Had it not been cut in half, Ratus would have been the second longest robot to enter Robot Wars. Ratus was one of the few robots to have sponsorship, this being only DVDs. According to Gary Pike, the driver of Matilda apologised to the team after it was heavily damaged by the house robots. Ratus was the only robot to beat S.M.I.D.S.Y not to have made a future or previous appearance. It is also the only robot to have beaten S.M.I.D.S.Y in the main competition and not reached the semi-finals. The facts about Ratus does not end there, as there's more about it. For example, the 4th Wars, it attempted to qualify where it fought Dominator 2. Dominator 2 smashed Ratus with the axe and almost pitted it until Dominator became immobilized, awarding Ratus the win. However, Dominator qualified because it was far more impressive. Then Ratus attempted to qualify for Series 5, where it fought in a melee against Razor, Granny's Revenge, Rhubarb, Purple Predator and Shunt. Though the results are known, it ultimately did not appear. And finally, once again about Ratus, it was the only robot to come from the Channel Islands. And that is it for today. Series 3 Heat P, in my opinion, is one of the most underrated episodes of Robot Wars. Whenever you see people discuss Robot Wars and Robot Wars episodes, a lot of people, when they talk about their least favourite, they always bring up Heat P for some reason. They always say, oh, every robot broke down. No, they didn't. Not every robot actually broke down. A lot of the robots fought quite well. I mean, look at the Ratus versus S.M.I.D.S.Y fight. S.M.I.D.S.Y, yeah, technically broke down, but Ratus was just bulldozing S.M.I.D.S.Y. It was a fun, energetic fight. Dreadnought fighting Psychokiller, again, quite a fun, energetic fight. Trident just smashing apart Trun Trun, however you're meant to pronounce that robot's name. You know, it's not the most exciting fight, but it's visually impressive, that Trun Trun, and seeing Shunt just batter the pieces off of it and it catches fire as well. Victor, just, you know, destroying itself, but also battering the opponent. I think, you know, a lot of people seem to, you know, I think because it's the last episode of the Heat, people of the series, I should say, a lot of people have this negative perception on this particular episode, when really it isn't that bad at all. it's still a very exciting episode. It's still a very exciting, it got a very varied amount of robots, I should say. It's exciting. That's the thing. It is exciting. It is truly a fun episode in that sense. It's underrated, in my opinion. The battles are quite entertaining when you really sit down and watch them. If you really want a bad Series 3 episode, look no further than Heat L. That's an episode where every robot breaks down. That's an episode where nothing happens throughout the whole episode. This one had stuff happen. Dreadnought, actually works for once, which is, great, because of course Dreadnought never really worked properly before. There are some underrated gems. Ratus always, sticks in my mind. I love the look of the robot. I think the robot was really great in that S.M.I.D.S.Y fight. It's a shame it kind of destroyed itself after the first round, which, obviously kind of screwed it over later on, but it would have been a far more impressive robot had it not destroyed itself in the first round, been battered by the house robots, because I think against Dreadnought would have had a far more exciting fight. It was a speedy robot, it was an aggressive robot. One of my little, favorite one-time robots, Ratus. I can always remember on the wiki we had these arena tournaments where we just have we just vote in sort of like arena style fun games, blah blah blah, like mythical tournaments sort of. And I remember I was hosting one of them, and Ratus was in like a world championship, and I remember we were using a random number generator, and it was like the gods were shining down on Ratus that one time, because it just kept getting perfect scores almost. And yeah, I don't know why I always think of that, but I do, because it's one of those moments which just makes me smile. It did lose to Chaos 2 though afterwards, but I digress. I'm getting off topic. Heat P is underrated, in my opinion. It is an underrated episode. I think people need to give it a much more better chance. I don't get why people ignore Heat L, which is an absolutely abysmal episode, but then attack this episode. I just don't get it personally. So yeah, Heat P, it's underrated. I recommend it though. So let's have a look at what we get next time around. So we're on to my all-time favorite episode, the Southern Annihilator. This is probably one of the most famous episodes of Robot Wars, one of the most famous special, one of the most famous in general of anything, anything Robot Wars related, robot combat related. I am certainly looking forward to this one, although I will be honest, I don't know what I'm going to do with the fact file for this one, because it's quite awkward to talk about robots that have already appeared or have not appeared, blah, blah, blah. But I digress. Southern Annihilator is next. I'm looking forward to it. It's my all-time favorite episode, and I'll see you next time.